Round 26 team list, and it's the second last week of fantasy for the year. The last week of the year if you're a head-to-head coach. Things are winding down, but I got to say, if you're in the grand final, this is the week that matters. If you're going for the overall championship, then this is super important for you as well. Now, Triffy Greg, love you too, mate. Love you too. You're in early today. Awesome, man. So, today we've got some big team lists to talk about. Few pictures that have popped up straight away. Nico Hines, Payne Haas. Now, as you guys know, I don't look at these team lists before we do the video. So I'm just kind of stoked to see these guys available, basically. So I'm keen to roll through. Let's get into this here. So rolling through from the first game, heaps of talk about the Storm resting players. A lot of talk on that. So we're going to go into this first. Let's look at the Storm first because I think this is more important. Delicious coffee, nice and black. All right, so for the Storm first, we've got Pappenhausen, Ermia, Seve, Tonomapia, Fealongo, Munster, Anderson. Then we have Vailepu, Wishart, Welch, Bradley, Chan, McDonald, Russell Smith, Mura, Lasati, and Powell. Okay, this is an absolutely crazy Storm team list. So I'm going to throw a few things in here. First one is obviously no one really on the extended bench. King, Loera, Meany, I guess, are available there. But the big outs, and we can just see them here, Eli Katoa, Harry Grant, Jack Howarth, Jerome Hughes, Nelson Sofa-Solomona, Sean Bloor, Kamika Mika, and Warbrick are all out of this team. Okay, so if you've got these guys, look, for me personally, that's a hit. That's Jerome Hughes and Bloor out from my side. They'll play next week. Basically, all of them play next week, but this was expected. They were going to rest some players. They've locked in the minor premiership. This is locked in. So if you're going to trade players out, I wouldn't necessarily trade out healthy Storm players because they will play around 27 and they will help you next week. But yeah, this is a good shout, though. If you've got your head-to-head final like Jeff this week, then you might have to make those trades. That's unlucky. I mean, look, your boys might lift for you. It's going to be a real Mighty Ducks story if you get the win there. Hey, Aiden, how's it going? Sup, Charlene? Yo, ABM. Yeah, Grant Anderson at halfback. We'll see how it goes. I think they're just sort of mashing things together for this week. Should I trade Mongol Smitties? I mean, nah, you could. There's probably other guys you need to sell more than him. And Charlene, yeah, same boat. Okay, that's all right. Look, a lot of people are going to be down players, so I wouldn't stress it too much. The big hit there is Sean Bloor. I wasn't expecting him to get a rest this week. I thought he might truck through. I guess he's a young guy, though. So that's it. We got a cop. In terms of draft leagues, if you're in those or other spots, relevant players here, there's a few guys you could talk about. Actually, not really. I mean, Wishart at hooker is interesting. You could talk about really anyone in this forward pack stepping up, getting more minutes as well. Kane Bradley's available at wing fullback, but overall, I'm not super inspired by many of these options. Look, someone's going to step up and score some points. It's probably, Welch might play big minutes, maybe. Alec McDonald could stir here as well, but otherwise, yeah, I'm not super interested in this Storm team. All right, Cowboys side of the ball. Scotty Drinkwater, Felt, Holmes, Vailea, Talangi, Dearden, Clifford. We have McLean, Robson, Tamalolo, Lukey, Nanai Cotter, McIntyre, Edwards, Finafuaki, and Neem on the bench. And yeah, Chad Townsend in reserves there, but no one else really super interesting. So for the Cowboys side of the ball, I guess the question is, how much do you rate these Cowboys players now that you know they're facing an understrength Storm side, especially at home? So yeah, here we go. ABM's in on it first. Drinkwater captain, yeah. So that's the question, right? Are you really backing these guys in to put on a show against this understrength Storm side? I think they'll absolutely tear them up. I don't think it's going to be a 50-0 type scoreline, but I think more something along the lines of, 38-16 or something like that. They'll score plenty of points. If you've got guys like Drinkwater, Val Holmes as well, a few of these other guys in this back line too, I think they're all going to play pretty decently. Now, I wouldn't necessarily captain Drinkwater. So I don't love the upside on Drinkwater. And you look at him this year, he normally scores between 40 and 55 points. So you don't normally get those huge games from Drinkwater, even when he does dominate. So for me, I don't think he's a great captain option this week. But if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. They're your options there. But otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't be captaining Drinkwater myself. He's not my shout. But he could go really well in this game. Probably more of a super coach captain this week than a fantasy captain. For the rest of the team here, I mean, would you target many of these guys? Like Val Holmes could be a good option. He should go really well, whether he's against Seve or Tonopia. That's a classy matchup. Then, yeah, I mean, Cotter should be fine as well. They're fighting for that finals sort of spot. So, yeah, look, overall, I'm not super hyped on many of these players, though, at the Cowboys, so I'm probably not going to recommend buying too many of them. And in terms of captaincy, I don't love any of them as captains. You can make a case for Drinkwater, Holmes, a few of these other guys. Clifford is available on a lot of waiver wires as well in draft leagues. So if you need a half for this week, like you have Galvin, like I do, then Clifford's a good shout. All right, we'll keep rolling through here. So Doggies and the Seagulls up next. And for the Dogs and the Seagulls, this is a solid matchup. It should be a solid matchup. So no Stephen Crichton is the first thing to shout out here. So in the back line, we got Connor Tracy, Skelton, Zeri, Karaz, Adokar. We have Burton and Sexton. Forward pack, we got King, Marnie, Hughes, Kickout, Preston, Salmon. Then we have Hayward, Moran, Hayes, and Curran. So Kurt Mann's out for a decent chunk of time, which just means Salmon goes back to that lock role. Doesn't impact too much else other than that. Probably guarantees or close to guarantees some good minutes for Kickout and Preston this week. The back line here, Skelton is a good shout. So if you do need a player in a draft league or something like that, Skelton's nice and cheap, and he's an absolute monster of scorer. So I don't mind him. Outside of that, Matty Burton, we talked about him a lot last week, and I'm not here to sort of rub anything in. I was a big Burton over DCE guy, and that worked out pretty well. Burton popped off. I stand by that. I think this is a good matchup for Burton. Look, Manly are going to come out, they're going to play hard, but Burton scores in so many different categories, and the Dogs are in such good form that I think he'll step up in this game. Karaz as well. Stick with Karaz. Keep on rolling with him. I wouldn't stress about score variation from him. For the forward pack here, King is available on the waivers in some draft leagues, but other than that, I'm not buying too many of these players, if any. Reed Marnie was back to semi-decent form last week, so you stick with him if you got him. But outside of that, yeah, no one I'm really targeting this dog side. For the Seagulls, we got Turbo, Saab, Talau, Garrick, Hopewadi. Then we have Brooks and DCE. Paseka, Croker, Brown, Olakawatu, Trebojevic, and Trebojevic again. And then Kohler, Aloe, Bullimore, and Lodge on the bench. So a bit of a bigger bench this week. A lot of middle forwards. That's going to be bad news for anyone who's got, middle forwards from Manly, I would say. But in terms of Manly, who are we looking at? So Turbo's the first one there. Good matchup last week. They lost that game to the Tigers, but he absolutely tore up. Bunch of tries, assist line breaks, all that sort of stuff. So for him, he was the top scorer of the week last week. And will he do it again this week is probably the question you're going to ask there. I don't think so. I think the Dogs will do a good job on Turbo. He's in great form right now, but I don't know if I'd be targeting him at this point. I probably wouldn't be targeting Turbo at this point. And if the opportunity arises to give him a rest, they absolutely will do that, especially with Kohler on the bench. For DCE, it's not panic stations, so don't sell Trey Evans, but there's been a trend over the last few weeks where the run meters and kick meters have been going downwards. So just keep that in mind. Not a captain option, but still a solid option to keep. And then Ruben Garrick, I think you got to stick with him as well. He's an outside back, so he's going to be high and low across different weeks, but overall, he's a solid option in your team. Let's hit some questions here. So full 17, but God, yeah, some of these 17s are going to be rough this week. Should I trade Vanilla Blake because he's not playing round 27 for the Warriors? Nah, stick with him this week. Stick with him. You can look at it next week, but I wouldn't trade him this week. Absolutely not. And then keep rolling through. I'm screwed. Yeah, me too. Might be 3 down. Longy and Legends. How's it going, mate? Good to see you. Hopefully you're in a good spot this week. All right, let's keep rolling through here. So we've got the Panthers and the Bunnies. So on the Panthers and Bunnies game, good to see the Panthers aren't resting too many players here. So nice home game. They'll be fired up to get a good win. So we've got Edwards, Taruva, Tungo, Alamoti, Toe, Schneider, and Luai. So no Laurie is noteworthy to shout. Taruva's come back in. And then we've got Leota, Kenny, Fisher-Harris, Garner, Martin, Yo, with Talau, Smith, Henry, and Guy on the bench. So for the Panthers side of the ball, look, Dylan Edwards was really disappointing last week. I would back him to bounce back this week. This Rabbitohs matchup is a good one, and he should be on form. That was his first score of the year below 40 points. So, if you bought him last week like I did, then just a bit of bad luck. Don't worry about it. Brush it off. He'll bounce back. He'll be good this week, I'd expect. Alamotti coming back is big news. So if you're a Casey McLean owner, Alamotti he's a bit early here. I think he was originally due around 27, come back around 26. So can't rely on Casey McLean this week. That's a rough go. And then for the rest of the team here, I mean, like guys like Toe, Tungo, again, this is a good matchup for them. So if you have them, I'd start them pretty confidently this week. For the forward pack, I'm going to top anyone here. I mean, Liam Martin's always got a good price, but he might get a rest next week. Fisher Harris grabbed the try, so I wouldn't be fooled by his score. And Isaiah Yeo is a great captain option every single week. If you want the safe captain option, Isaiah Yeo is that guy. He's great. He scored 85 points last week, so absolutely massive from him. For the Bunnies here, we got Gray, Munro, Milne, Myers, Gagai. We have White and Walker. We got Moale, Cook, Kepi, Kalamatangi, Duncan, Murray, Marmazelis, Host, Burgess, and Havili on the bench. So pretty straightforward team list here. Pretty regular. Look, good to see Tyrone Munro back. He's spent a bit of time on the sidelines this year. Jai Gray, still in the picture, still absolutely pumping it. I would keep my mind open about his score this week. So he could score really low, but also he has scored decently in losses for South Sydney as well. So he's the kind of guy who can break off a run against practically anyone. And the Panthers do have a few injuries here and there, not heaps, but they have no Nathan Cleary, right? So there are chances for Gray to pop off. I'm going to be starting with my 17 this week pretty confidently. For Jack Whiten, I'm feeling the same way. So Whiten's got a really solid base and then some attacking stats when he needs them. So again, I'd start him pretty confidently. If you've got other guys, I think some of you guys have Myers, for example. That's a more boom and bust option, but he would be more of a loophole. In fact, most of these guys are guys you'd loophole because they're at the start of the round. For the forward pack here, Cook is losing some minutes to Marmazelis, so we finally saw that actually coming to fruition. He played about 65 minutes last week. So keep an eye on that. It just means to me that Cook isn't a captain option this week. So you keep starting him. He's a great scorer, but I wouldn't be captaining him this round, just knowing that Marmazelis could steal those minutes again. For the rest of the team here, Kalamatangi, really disappointing last week. Tallis Duncan grabbed the try, only 42 points, so not massive. Cam Murray's absolutely killing it. If you don't have Cam Murray yet, you have a trade to use. Cam Murray is an A1 target for you. I still think Dylan Edwards is a great target as well, but Cam Murray is that top target 100%. Then rolling through to the bench, no one's super interesting, so we'll keep on rolling through here. And before we get into the Saturday games, quickly hit some points here. So, why do you call me Paulie? I'm Longy. So Paulie's the other guy on NRL.com. He's the host. But how's it going, man? I captained Ponga last week. Should I send it again? Mate, 100%. That's a great option. So, look, it can burn you, that sort of captain, but Ponga's got massive upside against the Titans this week, and they haven't been tackling much lately at all. And hope Stormstar's back next week. Yeah, I reckon they will be. There's no way they're taking 2 weeks off before the finals. No, Casey is a good shout there. I'll just scrape 17 if Murray plays. Let's go, David. I'm going C on Fifi. A big bounce back. Yeah, look, Fafita is an interesting shout. I don't know. He hasn't had those massive games in him this year, so I'm not super high on him, but we'll have a look at the matchup. We'll have a think about it when we get there. And no worries, Aiden. All good, all good. I'm happy to be mistaken for Paulie. He's much better looking than I am anyway. So for Eels and the Dragons, let's roll through that game. So for Eels and the Dragons, we've got Gartho, Sivo, Penasini, Talangi, Russell. We have Brown and RC in the halves. Then RCG hands Lane, Tuolangi, Cartwright, Offengawi, Lasik, Makatoa, Moretti, and Kerr. So there was a bit of talk during the week on James Graham's podcast that Para might rest players to save themselves for the wooden spoon playoff next week versus the Tigers. No way that's happening. No way. So we've already got a bit of a makeshift roster as it is. So for this Para side, is there anything I'm interested in? I mean, the Dragons are a team that can get into a shootout, but I don't trust Parramatta at all. If you're in a draft league, and guys like Offengawi, Tuolangi, we talked about them previous weeks. If they're available on the waivers, they're good options if you need the stopgap. For the back line, I really don't trust any of it. Maybe Gutho, you can make a case for. And then on the Dragon side of the ball, we got Sloan, Lomax, Finai, Tupalotu, Bird, Hunt, and we have Molo, Little, DeBellin, Leilua, Sua, Eisenhuth, with Couchman brothers, Laurie, and Fatala Mariner on the bench. So for the Dragons, again, look, I'm probably going to say the same thing I say every week. And it's that Parramatta's wings leak some points across the board. So if you're a Zach Lomax owner, I think this is the week where he's going to pop off for you. It would be pretty audacious for you to do, but I don't mind the idea of a Zach Lomax captain this week. And it could burn you. It could absolutely burn you. He's a winger, right? But he could pop off in this game against Para. So Zach Lomax is a captain option. I'm putting that on the record. I think it could absolutely work for you. If you're playing fantasy, it's a bit tougher to call, but you could probably get any of these guys as well if you're anyone in the Dragons backline is relevant if you're in a draft league. Again, Parramatta do leak some points on the edges. If you're in Super Coach, it's even more relevant and looking at a guy like Tuipulotu as well. He could score a couple of easy tries in this one, has been scoring a bunch of tries recently. So that's worth a shout in draft leagues, but in Classic, it's really only Lomax or Ben Hunt is your call. For the forwards here, we've got, and yeah, look, good shout here too, Aussie Frost King, 100, putting C on Murray if he gets the downgrade. Yeah, so that suspension risk is absolutely there. I'm just running with the assumption he's going to play. That's kind of what I'm rolling with, but hey, it could go either way. Then for the forward pack here, look, Little has been on fire lately. So Little's a guy who, again, Para do leak some points to hookers sometimes. So Little could be an option that absolutely kills it. It's funny, I'm just picking holes in Parramatta while wearing a Para jersey. But yeah, look, for Little, I think he's a good shout this week. If you need a hooker desperately, he's a good option. Outside of that, look, Leilua, Sua, they've been in decent form recently. You could make a case for Eisenhuth, but probably not guys I'm going to be targeting as buys. Zach Lomax is probably the only one that I would consider as a target for a buy option, especially with the matchup this week. I will keep rolling through. So we got, nice Brisbane matchup here. So Redcliffe versus Brisbane. For Redcliffe, we've got the Hammer at fullback, Asako, Avarillo. We've got Farnworth, Bostock, O'Sullivan, Katoa in the halves. For the forward pack here, we got Bromwich, Plath, Nichols, Kafusi, Lemuelu, Stone. Then we're running with Teague, Keeley, New, and Donahue. So for the Finns, starting from the top, look, any of these guys could score well this week. So the Broncos are a matchup that can leak some points, can score some points. This on paper should be a bit of a shootout, bit of a local derby as well. So it should be a good game. I'm looking forward to watching it. In terms of fantasy relevance here, I think the Hammer bounces back in this one. I think guys like Asako, Farnworth will be solid as well. Farnworth versus Old Club too, which is always a good thing. So I think he'll absolutely kill it. O'Sullivan's one to look at here. O'Sullivan hasn't been starting for them, but obviously Cody Nicarima is out this week. So if you're really desperate in a draft league in particular for a half, O'Sullivan is very cheap. He's often available on the waivers, and he's scored well in the past. No guarantees next to Katoa, but I would put him down for a 40-point game this week. For the forward pack here, Plath is absolutely killing it still, so we love that. Outside of that, there is no interest in this Dolphins forward pack. Guys that have been injured basically are the ones who we'd be interested in. So guys like Aitken, Flagler, those sorts of guys as well. For the Broncos side of the ball, Saylor absolutely killed it last week. He was on my bench in Supercoach. Had a little loophole play going, which was nice. I don't know if I'd trust him against Dolphins. Dolphins can leak some points, but they might also turn up in this one and win this game. So very hard one to call. So for the Broncos, we'll go Saylor, Cobbo, Staggs, Mariner, Arthurs. We've got Rogers, Reynolds. Then we have Jensen, Walters, Willison, Piakura, Ricky, Carrigan. And then down the bottom here, we've got Moser, Takura, Karapani, Tapau, and Hunt, Baker, Oates, Pay, and Haas. So Payne Haas in jersey 22. Could be interesting. Could be really interesting, right? Payne Haas could sneak into the team. And even if he gets 40 to 50 minutes, he's a 50-point scorer. So I'm not saying buy Haas. I wouldn't be buying Haas. But if you held Haas, this is a massive win for you because he's come back in. So I reckon he'll come in, but we'll see what happens. Outside of that, going through the rest of the team here, Adam Reynolds had 700 plus kick meters last week, which is absolutely massive. Monster performance from him. So if you're a Reynolds owner or if you're looking at a player around that mid 500s area, Reynolds is a fantastic option. I'm a big fan of him this year down the stretch. And then who else we got? I mean, guys like Cobbo, Staggs, they're sort of streaky. You're not going to be targeting them. Forward pack, Jensen. If Haas comes back, Jensen does fall off a cliff a bit. So I wouldn't be buying Jensen this week if I was you. But if you do have Jensen, you got to stick with him. He's a green dot. He's very reliable. he just loses a lot of that upside if Haas comes back into the team. Then, Willison, he completely disappears if Haas comes back as well. And Paddy Carrigan, his role fades too. So if Payne Haas comes back in, any Broncos forwards you have, they're going to take a downgrade, but Haas takes the big upgrade. So again, would I target any of these guys? I wouldn't be targeting Carrigan this week, just because Haas coming back does make him a weaker option. All right, we'll keep rolling through. So Sharkies and the Warriors. And for this one, it's an interesting game. So, I mean, look, obviously the Sharks, they've been in good form lately. I'm looking at the halves, Atkinson and Trindle. Where are you, Nico Hines? There's Nico Hines. Okay. Hines in the 22 jersey. I've got a few draft leagues where I'm the Hines team, or where I've picked up Hines off the waivers. And I am praying that he plays this week. So yeah, if Hines comes in, that would be crazy. Look, for this game, again, keep an eye on that. I wouldn't be rushing Hines in as a buy, but at the same time, if you want a super pod and Hines is set to play, he'll play 80 minutes, right? He'll most likely play 80 minutes, and the Warriors are a good matchup. So Hines is risky, come back from injury. He's no guarantee to play. He's no guarantee to play next week, but the podness of it, just that you bring him in, you captain him, would be absolutely crazy. So if I had a trade left and I had the money, I'd probably be targeting Hines. I reckon it's just got so much upside. It has risk, 100%. If you're the favorite in a head-to-head league, don't do it. But if you're an underdog or if you're chasing points, Hines is an absolute risk that's worth taking. Outside of that, look, for the rest of the team, who's worth talking about? I mean, Talakai's in there. So Ramian's out this week. Worth shouting out then. Iroh's been absolutely killing it. Just keep Iroh rolling. Iroh's got a good matchup here. The Warriors have been leaking some points. Atkinson, Trindle, both take a downgrade if Hines comes back in. So just keep that in mind. Forward pack here, Nakora has been killing it. He is halfback proof is what I've decided now. So I was wrong on that one. I'm going to eat humble pie. I thought he would suffer a bit because he relies on attacking stats so much with their two starting halves out, but he absolutely killed it. For the rest of the team here, I mean, Cam McInnes, it's just a case of, big minute, small minute roulette for him. So we never know what minutes he's going to get. For the Warriors here, we got Tuapiki, DWZ, CNK, Leotower, Montoya, Metcalf, Johnson, and I'll talk about the back line here before we go into the forward pack. So for them, Tuapiki comes back. Again, Tuapiki, decent shout if you want that waiver wire wing fullback option. Really good option there. CNK takes a big downgrade going to center. Leotower has been decent recently. Then look, SJ, this is one of his last, actually, no, it's his last game in the NRL, right? So for Shawnee Johnson, I know what happens in fantasy. I mean, you're not going to buy him for 1 week, right? But if your team is out of it and you just want to do something silly, SJ is captain this week. To show on, it would be a cool thing. He was our fantasy MVP last year, so very cool to see him. I guess getting to play this last game against his old club as well. So I'll be rooting for Sean Johnson this one. For the forward pack here, pretty straightforward forward pack. So AFB, Egan, Barnett, Niokore, Capewell, Walker, and then we got Lusick, Ale, Tavanga, and Sifakula. So for the forward pack here, I'm going to be confident with AFB. I think AFB comes out and kills it. Barnett's been fading recently, but he's been playing good minutes. So again, I would predict he bounces back. I think they'll turn up in this game. It's Sean Johnson's last game. So if they don't turn up, then what are they doing, right? Then for the rest of the team, you probably don't have too many of these guys, but Dylan Walker should be solid as well. Overall, I'm going to trust the Warriors forwards here to bounce back and all score pretty decently in this matchup. But don't be buying any Warriors players. They've got the bye next week. That's the big thing. WV17, you're versing me this week in a grand final. Any trades left? No trades left for me. No trades left. So whatever I've got is what I've got. I think I might even be down a player, but we'll see how it pans out. In fact, actually, let me just double check. So there was no Madison on the bench, was there, for Parramatta? No, there's not. Okay. Damn. All right, no Madison for me. I was sort of hoping he'd come back a bit early, but no chance. All right, so Knights and Titans, and this is one we want to talk about here. So this is a good matchup for both sides, really. Both teams have been putting up some points. Now, for the Knights here, Ponga, Sharp, Gagai, Best, Marzu. We got Cogger, Crossland. We have Safidi, Brayley, Thompson, Lucas, Jones, Elliott, and then Price, Croker, Hetherington, and Kent. So for them, no Kai Pierce-Paul this week, that big gash on the leg, and no Tyson Frizzell, obviously out this week as well. So Brodie Jones comes into the starting team. Do I trust Brodie Jones? No, not really. He should get decent minutes, but I don't trust him as a fantasy producer. Dylan Lucas should be solid in this one. I'm not sure what edges they'll be on in terms of Lucas and Jones, so I need to work that out before buy, hold, sell. But yeah, good shout here, X-Ray Dub 2. Lucas, good pod, held him to round 1. You had a lot of patience because there were a lot of weeks where he was out. But yeah, Lucas is killing it. Available at center as well. I got him in a few draft leagues, but don't have him in my classic team and wish I did. For the rest of the Knights team, though, Kalen Ponga. Look, Ponga is a great shout. If you want a pod captain this week, Kalen Ponga is a guy who can pop off for 100 points in a given game. Now, last week, he was on a really low score at halftime, absolutely brained at the second half, scored like 60 points in the second half. He can do that in a given week, and if you just combine that with a 40-point first half, that's 100 points for you. So I like the Pong. Look, Bradman Best is back this week as well. It's probably worth a look, actually, in your draft leagues to see if Best is available. I'm going to go have a look at that right after this, actually, because Best should absolutely kill it here too. Some re-injury risk, so he obviously did have that soft tissue injury, which does have some risk that he's going to do it again. Just keep that in mind if you have Best. If you can loophole him in some way, it is a late game, obviously, so you probably can't, but if you can loophole him, that's ideal, just to protect yourself from that early injury. For Marzu, Gagai, Sharp, I think they'll all be producing some attacking stats here too, so I think they're a good shout. The halves, I'm not super interested in. Maybe Cogger, you can make a case for, but in general, not so much. And then the forward pack, it's Dylan Lucas, really, and no one else. For the Titan side of the ball, we got Keeney, Cam Pereira, Kelly. Then we have Sami, Fafita, Campbell, Foreign, and we got Fodawaker, Verrills, Jolliffe, Fafita, Firma, Randall, Bahulu, Liu, Clark and Haas on the bench. So for them, again, look, the Knights aren't a rock solid matchup. And Luke, I'll get to that question as well in a sec too. But the Knights aren't a rock solid matchup. So, I think all these guys can pop off as well. So I've got Keeney, for example. I'll confidently start him. I probably won't captain him, but I'll very confidently start him this week. Same as, if you've got Jaden Campbell, I think he'll bounce back this round. He's been a bit hit and miss recently, but I think this will be a solid game for him. For the outside backs, I don't really trust any of these Titans outside backs. So Cam Pereira was the top 5 scorer last week, or top 10. Jojo Fafita was top 3 a few weeks ago. It just sort of goes around. It gets shared around and different guys pop off in different weeks. So I don't trust the 2 to 5 from the Titans. Forward pack here, look, Firma and Fafita should both be solid in this game. You can see the Knights are under strength on the edges. They have some new combinations as well. So I would expect that Fafita and Firma both get some good ball and produce some good scores. Do I trust them enough to captain them? Absolutely not. But if you want a pod captain, again, look, Fafita is a guy who can go huge. Historically, hasn't done it this year. I don't trust him enough to do it, but if you want to do it, you absolutely can. So he's in a similar category to Kalen Ponga in that you can just pick one of those guys, just sort of imagine it, right? So if you're choosing between them, imagine the game and imagine how Ponga would have to play to score 100 points, and then imagine how Fafita would have to play, and think about, what is more likely. So is Ponga more likely to slice the Titans up, or is Fafita more likely to burst over for a couple of tries? How do you sort of see it playing out? You make a call based on that. For me, it's Ponga, but I'm wrong all the time, as we all are. So, make your own call on that too. So for the rest of the team here, Randall's a bit dicey. I'm not super high on him. Jolliffe's back. He's playing better minutes slowly, but other than that, yeah. Luke, on your team, so best move is to go to Discord, the Discord we have. I'll just send you a link here because then you can actually share screenshots. So if you go into Discord, just go into like trade chat or somewhere like that, there's a bunch of channels where you can actually just drop a screenshot in and ask these questions. So I'll just put the link to Discord in the chat there. All right, cool. That is in there. And then X-Ray, Fafita, plays lazy, always walking around. Fair enough. He had to sub off last week. So maybe something's going on. We'll see what happens. Longy, giving my boy Firma props. Yeah, look, I'm not a big Firma believer. I don't know. He produces a lot of attacking stats for a back rower. And I worry with that sort of player that they're going to dry up at some point. So that's my concern. I've got 91, a couple of 70s, fair shout. And then Terrell for a bounce back. We'll talk about that with the Roosters as well. But Could be a good shout. Warrior Hargraves is out, so worth thinking about. All right, so Roosters. We've got Teddy, Tupou, Jennings, Manu, Young, Kiri, Walker. So no Tupanua in the center spot. He's on the bench there, and no Suoli'i as well. So worth shouting that out. For the forward pack here, Lenu, Smith, Collins, and then we have Crichton, Radley, Butcher. Connor Watson on the bench is just so disappointing and depressing. White, Tupanua, and May. And then on the extended bench, no one's super worth talking about. So for the Roosters, I mean, this Raiders game is interesting. So Canberra got absolutely destroyed by the Cowboys 2 weeks ago, and they went and beat the Panthers. I don't know how you can tip them, right? How can you predict it, right? So I look at this game and I think it's going to be pretty open. There'll be some points on offer. 4 p.m. is early enough that it's going to be a dry pitch, all that sort of stuff. Roosters at home. I'm pretty confident Teddy scores well. But at the same time, the Raiders did clamp up on the Panthers, and we saw Dylan Edwards get quite a low score in this one. We saw Luai get a low score, Toe, all these guys scoring pretty low, and Isaiah Yeo is actually the big beneficiary. So for the Roosters players, I'm not necessarily recommending you captain them. I just want to keep that in mind. But overall, they're not bad options, right? If you want to captain Teddy, you can absolutely do it. He's been on fire lately. He's just not the option I'm steering towards. Connor Watson off the bench. Maybe he comes in and starts at the last minute. Who knows? Again, you got to start him in your team, but I don't trust him as a big scorer for this week. For the Raiders side of the ball, we got Rapana, Hopewadi, Tomoko, Chris Savage. Then we have Weeks and Fogarty. Papali'i, Starling, Tarpane, Young, Whitehead, Smithies, and then we have Levi, Horsburgh, Mariota, and Sasangi. So for them, again, sort of same thing. Who are we really looking at? Who are we targeting? There's a lot of guys here a bit hit and miss. KO Weeks, Xavier Savage, Jordan Rapana, all these guys. Fogarty is in a good spot. So Weeks is a solid halves partner for Fogarty. Weeks didn't steal too many kick meters, so Fogarty got to dominate those. That means a good score from him. But other than that, if we go into the forward pack here, Papali'i, all right, so Starling, and I'll answer this question here. Starling or Marnie, who do you play? It's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I'm probably leaning towards maybe Marnie. Just because I think this Roosters forward pack is going to do a job, and I think Starling might cop a few missed tackles, but there also should be some attacking plays on offer. It really is a coin toss. I'd probably try and start them both, to be honest. There are probably some other players that you have that I'd bench before them instead. And Dom Young this week, yeah, I'd start Dom Young 100%. Definitely him. Connor Watson on the bench, yeah, look, one of those years, you just got to cop it. Next year is going to be much smoother. This has been one of the most chaotic seasons for fantasy I've ever seen. And I've played 15 years now. So, yeah, I take it from me. This year has been exceptionally crazy, and next year will be a little bit smoother. Should I be concerned with what's on the reserves I have him starting? Yeah, a bit concerned, but I wouldn't trade him out. But I am concerned as well. Yeah. Playing Starling or Marnie, we talked about that as well. Watson probably going to be starting on game day. Yeah, look, hopefully. And that's ideal. We hope that happens. He has been the starter over Butcher historically. If he comes on 20 minutes in and plays 60 minutes, though, I don't hate that either. So if that's his role, that's better than going off later in the game because he gets to come on. There's a tired, opposition on the field, more chance of tackle breaks, all that sort of thing. So if he plays 60 minutes off the bench, that's actually one of the ideal options. Do I trade Watson or McLean? I have 271K money. Yeah, okay. Probably McLean, right? Like pretty easy shout. Go McLean. If you can get McLean to Adam Reynolds, for example, or someone like that, someone in that price bracket, off Ngawi, I think that money should work out for you and should be in a good spot. But yeah, McLean I would sell and try and keep Watson for sure. For the Raiders here, though, look, Hudson Young's the other one. If you want a super pod, Hudson Young has been playing pretty well lately. Gus Crichton's been playing well too. If you want that pod, again, we talked about Gus. We were talking about edge back roles last week, actually, and just sort of saying they're all good, but you got to pick the one who's going to score the tries. And Gus Crichton went and scored 3. So that was the big shout there. Who is my top pod captaincy option this week? I think Ponga is a really good captain option this week. So that second half last week, very, very exciting. They've got Bradman Best back, which is amazing news. So I think people underestimate that when Ponga sweeps across to that side and you've got Brad and Best there, Best draws 1.5 defenders in every single time he's running a line, right? So that opens things up for Ponga a bit more. I think Ponga is, I might even captain Ponga this week. He's probably the pod captain that I like the most. Zach Lomax is another that I think is kind of crazy if you want to do that as well. All right, keep rolling through. That's actually all the games there. So I'll just answer some questions. Do you guys have any questions on particular players or anything like that? Bit of a quicker one this week. We're going to do buy, hold, sell as well. We're doing some fantasy awards soon too, which is really exciting. But outside of that, we are going to transition into some more finals-based content too, some more general NRL stuff. And do make sure you stay subscribed. If you're not subscribed, make sure you get on that sub button because next year when we start early, you want to be right in here as soon as we get started. So I'm excited to captain Ponga now. Look, it's risky, right? He can score 30 points, but I reckon he pops off this week. And no, I sort of look at my team. I've got nothing to lose. I might as well take a shot at this. I went yo last week, so I went safer last week. It worked. I like to change things up a little bit, though. I have 14 green dots and 0 trades and a lot of dreams. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Look, you need to go for the pod captain. With 14 players, you might as well take a shot at it. Yeah, look, 14 green dots is... If your boys go off and your opponent has a bad day, you can still win. It absolutely happens. Yoa Crichton for Supercoach. Ooh, I'm probably leaning towards Crichton for the big attacking upside over Yo in Supercoach, whereas I'd go Yo over Crichton in fantasy. It's just a question of, like, do you think the Roosters will rest any players? I don't think they will with the way the top 4 is shaking up, but Crichton would be a candidate for them to rest. Cheers, no worries, X-Ray. Best pod. It depends on the price point you're looking at. So I like Hudson Young. I've liked Hudson Young for a while now. Some other pods that we like. Zach Lomax I really like as well against Parramatta this week. It's a really nice pod. Then who else do we look at? You know, they're probably 2 I really like. You could make a play for someone like Keeney. I like Keeney quite a bit still. I think he'll go well down the stretch. Then who else? Ponga's not a pod, but he's pod captain. All right, play Weeks or Terrell? Terrell, 100%. Weeks is a bit dicey. I would try to do a loophole though, right? So try and use a loophole if you can, and that'd be the better play. If you can't loophole with those 2 players, pick another player who plays earlier and use them in your loophole instead. And captain AFB this week, since you got all the Storm boys out, and have me in the grand final. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So, look, apologies in advance for the loss you're going to cop in this week's game because my roster of, I think I've got like 15 players, honestly. My roster is going to be, it's going to be, I don't know. We'll see. Let's have a look, actually, because I got to be honest, guys. So my strategy when I play fantasy is I like to use trades very aggressively. So I'm a trade hard, trade early type of guy. And I always run out of trades. That's just my play. The year I won fantasy, I had 1 trade left in like round 21, right? And I just hobbled to the end, had good depth and sort of made it work. That's the way I like to play. So it means that years like this are really bad for my team. So I've faded a bit. I'm into rank 750 right now, which is less than ideal. But let's see, what have I got? So I've got some problems to deal with. And this is first look here. So Finu's out, Blaw's out, Hughes is out. Bench is full. Watson. Okay, so I'm going to be down probably 2 men this week. I was kind of hoping that Madison or Sorensen or Blaw or something like that would be playing, but no luck. So yeah, my side's going to be in shambles. Basically, I am in shambles. Bring that in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm 2 men down. So if you're versing me in a final, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about the Pong as captain. I'm considering it. We'll see. I don't mind Edwards as a captain. And no one's going to do that, right? Because he scored so badly last week. But Edwards is a captain. Oh, yeah. Going 40, you're down to 14 as well. All right. We're even then, man. We're in a good spot. Yeah, there's a few good captain options this week. So, yeah, you can make case for those guys. Herbie should be solid as well against his old club. I wouldn't captain him, but he should be solid. Isaiah Yeo is that safe captain option. Fafita is due a bounce back. The wing fullbacks I like. So even like Keeney, for example, against Newcastle. I know he's not been the best recently, but I think he could be hot. There's a lot of options here. I think have some fun with it. If you're in a head-to-head final and you're the favorite, don't go too crazy. But if you're a big underdog or if you're playing overall and you're down to, a small squad or whatever it is, have some fun with it. You might as well, have a crack and see how you go. Anyway, guys, that is Teamless Tuesday, done and dusted. So I'm going to be doing buy, hold, sell. I think we have Biz back this week as well, which is good. Outside of that, we'll be doing fantasy awards as well. So make sure you jump onto thecasualathlete.com.au. You can actually see on the top bar, there's voting for that still open. That's a great chat as well. And we'll be doing a fantasy awards video pretty soon too. All right, guys, good luck this week. See you on Discord as well. I'll pop that in the description too. So in the chat there, there's that Discord link. Jump into Discord. That's the place to hang. Live game chats, trade chats, all that sort of stuff. It's all there. All right, see you guys. Have fun.